So sitting up against the wall and using either a brick or a rolled up cushion. If you're doing this at home, then what you can do is roll up a towel, a hand towel or a bath towel, and place it along the length of your thoracic spine. Or you can use a foam roller. So some people have got those, and if you use it to roll out injuries and things, so you can put that, and then you lean back against the wall so that you kind of feel the thoracic spine being pushed slightly forwards. And when you're pregnant, this has quite a lovely effect because it lifts your ribcage away from your baby. So you might have a little sensation of, that's nice, that's better. And the other thing you can do is lean back over your birthing ball. So if you've got a ball at home that you're planning on using, you put the ball against something solid like a wall or your sofa, and you lean back and you place your lower back into the ball, but then the ball pushes your thoracic spine forwards. So you get that same lifting and opening sensation. And it is quite nice because, as I said, we feel a bit compressed when we're pregnant, and breathing can get a little tricky. So having this little bit of a press into the upper back can help. Okay, so from here, just closing your eyes. And the legs can go in any position they want, really. So if you want to work on your hips, if your hips are feeling tight, then the soles of your feet can come together and the knees can gently drop out to the side. So that's something to do if you want to stretch out your hips. If you're struggling a little bit with pelvic girdle pain, SPD, then you might want to stretch the legs out in front instead and not put any pressure through the pelvis. Otherwise you can just sit cross-legged in whichever cross-legged position feels good. And then you're just going to close your eyes, and a really nice practice to begin with is to just place your hands around your baby. Let your hands rest lightly on your belly. And then just take a moment. Notice how you feel. And become aware of everything that's happening in your body. So you might notice some little niggles, you might notice that there's been some changes. So we're talking about this just at the beginning, about how at a certain point towards the end of the pregnancy, the baby drops down into the pelvis. This is called the lightening or the quickening, and it's when your baby engages and their head beds deep into the pelvis. It often has a corresponding feeling of lightness around the upper part of the abdomen, and you feel that you can breathe a little bit better because your diaphragm's got a bit more space to move. But the corresponding issue is that you may have a bit more pressure down in your pelvis. So now become aware of your breath. Just feel the sensation of your breath as it moves in through your nose. And then feel the sensation of your breath as it moves out of your nose. And just continue following the sensation of your breath. And then we can make the breath a little bit longer, a little bit deeper. So if you contract the muscles around your throat as if you were sighing under the breath, this is called Ujjayi breath in yoga, which means the victorious breath. And it has this quality of power and victory. So it's quite a good birthing breath to participate in. It creates a soft snoring sound, almost reminiscent of the waves of the ocean. And so it's often called ocean breath as well. So just continue in that same way, contracting the muscles around the throat, with that slight engagement, having this soft sound that you can connect the mind to. It brings the mind into a quieter space, a space of stillness. And these sounds that we make with our body are a really beautiful way of connecting with our baby. So every time you make a sounded breath, or if you sing, or if you talk, your baby can feel that vibratory quality of the sounds that you're making. They also hear the beating of your heart, and they hear the whooshing of all of the fluids moving around your body, because they're very close to the aorta, which is the main artery in the body. And this is the concept of white noise being very comforting and soothing to babies, because for 9 months inside the womb, where they've been growing, where they've been safe and warm, and held and nurtured, the constant background is shh, 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 shh. And I think it's no coincidence that mothers instinctively soothe their babies when they're born by making the same sound. And so as long as, you know, women have been birthing babies, in every culture they make a shh, shh, shh sound when they're holding and rocking their babies and providing some nurturing support. So just take a couple more breaths. Just allowing the inhale and the exhale to get a little bit longer. And then we're going to add some arm movements just to stretch through the body. So as you next breathe in, just float your arms out to the sides. And as you start to raise the arms upwards, lift your rib cage rather than lifting the shoulder girdle. So what you want to do is create even more space between yourself and your baby. And then lengthen up through one side. Lengthen up through the other side. And just finding these spaces in the body. And then you can even take hold of one wrist and then just gently ease over, but you're not pulling the wrist so much as lengthening the side of your waist on the side that you're going away from. And just feel that length. And then come back to the center and then swap over the wrist and then just gently elongate through the other side. And then gently come back to the center and release the arms down. Okay, so you're going to need to come away from the wall at this point, because we're going to do a little bit of neck movement and you don't want your head to be touching the wall. So just come a little bit away from the wall where you're comfortable. And again, just finding a seated position that works for you, so wherever you want your legs to be. And we're going to do a little bit of work on the neck. This is a lovely way to get rid of any stiffness in your neck. So you know, sometimes if you've slept funny and you wake up and you've got a real crick in your neck, this is a really, really good practice to do. But it also has a really interesting effect on the nervous system. So the nervous system in the human body comes out through all of the junctions in the spine, through the spinal column. And interesting, the sympathetic nerve endings come out through the neck and the pelvis. So parasympathetic nervous system endings come out through the neck and the pelvis, and the sympathetic ones come out through the thoracic spine. And the parasympathetic nervous system is the branch of the nervous system that they call the calm and relax one. So you've got the fight or flight. We all know that one, don't we? We all know that fight or flight branch of the nervous system. And that's the sympathetic nervous system, which is why we sometimes feel it in the belly. You know, when you have that response, you feel it here. Solar plexus being the biggest nerve plexus in that sympathetic nerve region. The parasympathetic nervous system does the opposite. So it's often called the rest and digest, or it's the calm and connect. So it provides us with the opposite of the fight or flight. It's very calming and soothing and nurturing. So see how you feel at the end. I mean, now I've given you that kind of auto-suggestion, we will never know. We should have done a blind trial, shouldn't we, where I didn't tell half of you. But see how it feels at the end, if there is this kind of corresponding feeling of relaxation afterwards. So sitting in a position where the spine is naturally upright, we've got those S curves running through the spine. And just connecting with your breath. We're going to move the head on an out breath, and you're just going to invite the head to move rather than try to pull the head. Rather than try to pull the head around as far as it will go. So it needs to be a fairly soft movement. And so breathing in first. And as you next breathe out, just gently turn your head to the right. You don't have to push it as far as it will go. Just loosen it and relax it round. And then as you breathe in, gently draw it back. And as you breathe out, gently turn the head towards the left. But again, you're almost offering the head around to the left, softening it round, not trying to push it as far as it will go, because that will tense the muscles up. You inhale back to the center. And you're just going to keep doing that with every out breath, turning the head to opposite sides. And every inhale, bringing the head back to the center. And what you might find is that with the repetitions, the head naturally goes a little bit further as a response of the neck muscles, softening and releasing. And the next time you finish turning to the left, can you make that the last one? And then bringing the head back into the neutral position at the centre. And then we're going to do a lateral movement. So as you breathe out, just drop your right ear towards your right shoulder. And again, it's a relaxed movement. Inhale it back to the centre. Exhale, left ear towards the left shoulder. And inhaling, coming back. And just repeating that a couple more times. And again, initially it might feel quite tight. And as you proceed, you might find the neck becoming a little more spacious. And as you take the head over to the left side, next time you can make that the last one. And once you've completed that, you can just bring the head back to the center. And then our last movement is an up and down movement, but I don't want you to bend your neck. All you're going to do is hinge the skull upwards and downwards. So the skull sits at the very upper vertebrae, it's called the atlas, and the skull sits on top, and all you're doing is this. So the neck isn't going to move, you're just hinging, and it's going to get into these muscles at the back. So we're going to do the same thing, so just inhaling, and on the exhale, just drop your chin down, but don't bend the neck, just let the chin drop down until you feel that stretch of the muscles at the base of your skull. And then inhale, come back to the center. And then on the exhale, you're going to lift your chin, but again, you're not going to try and get the head back as far as it will go, you're just hinging the skull. The neck stays neutral. And then inhale, the head comes back to the center. And just do that 2 more times. Just feeling the stretch. Using the exhale to move into the movement. And inhale to come back to the center. And when you finish 3 rounds, you can just bring the head back into the center. Notice how that feels. See if the neck feels a bit freer. There's a bit more movement here, but also seeing if you can find those qualities of the parasympathetic nervous system where there's a sense of quietness and relaxation. Okay, stretch your legs out in front, and you can just place a cushion or a small block underneath your sitting bones if that feels a little easier for you. And then we're just going to work the feet. So you're going to stretch the toes forwards and then pull back, and same again. And just repeating that a few times. And then rotate the ankles around. And then go back the other way. And then give the legs a little bit of a bounce. So take the legs a little bit wider and then draw, take them as wide as you can so you can draw the big toes in towards each other. So this is a nice stretch for the outsides of the hips, which often don't get a stretch. And it's a nice gentle pull for the sacroiliac joints as well. And then take them the other way. And then roll them in. And roll them out. Again. And one more time. Okay, take the legs wide. Push the heels away. Now, if you're not comfortable in the pelvis here, then you can just bring the legs into position where you are comfortable. We're going to start with the fingertips on the ground. And as you next breathe in, just float the right arm up. Keep the right sitting bone pushing into the ground. And rather than use your arms or your shoulders, lift the rib cage instead. So you're not using too much of your arm muscle. So the arms should be nice and soft. And then on an out breath, you're going to ease over to the left. You've done this already. Lengthening through the side of the body. Now as you breathe in, turn the palm upwards and stretch it forwards. You're going all the way around to the right side. So you get a bit of a stretch in the hamstring. So you're feeding it all the way around. And then that hand can come down onto the floor. And we're going to do a funny little movement with the left arm, which is going to get into the shoulder. You're going to lasso your head with your left shoulder. So you're going to take the elbow up. See if you can get the hand behind the head and kind of circle the hand all the way around. And then bring that hand down to the floor. We're going to do that a few times on this side, and then we're going to swap over. So inhaling, right arm lifts, push the right sitting bone into the ground, lengthen the side of the waist. On the exhale, lean over into your left hand, but lengthen through the right side of your body. On your inhale, turn your palm upwards, reach towards your left toe, and then circle all the way around towards your right toe. And then bring that hand onto the floor. And then with that last exhale, lasso round your head with your left hand. We're going to do that one more time. Inhaling, right arm up, root down through the right sitting bone. Exhale, reach over to the left, but lengthen through the side of the body. Inhale, the palm reaches up, and you feed the arm, sweeping it all the way around until it comes to the ground. And then exhaling, lasso the head all the way around. And then we're going to swap over. So the right hand's going to stay on the floor. Inhale, left arm reaches up, root the left sitting bone into the ground. And then exhale, lengthen the left side of the body, leaning into your right hand. On your inhale, the palm reaches upwards, and you circle, sweep all the way around. And then on the exhale, exhale, the right arm goes up, elbow up to the ceiling, and you circle the arm behind the head and drop it down. And just 2 more times. You just go at your own pace now, you know what you're doing, you kind of know these 4 separate movements. So just follow the rhythm of your breath. Is anyone else getting crunching? And then just gently lift the knees up with your hands. And just rock the knees from side to side. So take your feet wide, lean into the hands behind you, and drop the knees from side to side. A nice stretch for the hip. And a good counter pose from stretching the legs out. So we're going to do a little bit more work on the thoracic spine, which is the upper part of the back and the shoulders. We're going to be doing some kind of circling the arms around as well. So it may be better, I think at least Melissa, because you've got that contraption in your way, you might, if you put your head this end, and we'll see how that goes, but I think that should be okay. So it will be useful to have something underneath your head, either a block or a pillow in this position. So if you can come over onto your right side and place the block or the pillow underneath your head, and then push some of it towards the back of your head, because you're going to be rolling your head backwards. And you need enough room behind you to stretch your arm out. As you can see, I haven't got enough here. So you'll need to have enough room. So you might have to stagger yourself with your nose if you're quite close. You got enough room, Sally, with the wall?
Yeah.
Okay. So the head is on the pillow. You have a little bit of pillow behind to support the head. The back is straight, so make sure you have it rounded your upper back, and then the knees come up at a right angle as if you're sitting on a chair. And then you stretch your right arm out on the ground in front of you, in front of your chest, and then the left arm sits on top. So the next time you breathe in, you're just going to slide the left hand all the way along the right hand, slide it up the right arm, slide it over the right collarbone, slide it to the left collarbone, and all the time you're slightly twisting. And then you aim the elbow towards the ground. Now, it may not get over there first time. That's absolutely fine. I'm going to repeat this a few times. And on the out breath, you slide the hand all the way back. So this is our first movement. It's about 3 different moves. Same thing again. On the inhale, slide the left hand all the way up the right arm, over the collarbone. Let the head roll as just a natural consequence of moving the arm. And on the out breath, you slide the hand all the way down. And you might find it's quite stiff initially. There may be this feeling of tightness. You might feel it more in the lower back than the upper back. If you're tighter in your lower back more than you are in the upper back, you'll feel it more there. And just keep that movement going, dynamic movement, synchronizing with your breath. You might start to feel a little bit of openness. And you can carry on in that same way, but if your elbow comfortably touches the ground, you might then want to extend the arm out on the exhale. Hold it there for the inhale, and then exhale it all the way back. So you're just adding in this opening up. But if the elbow doesn't reach the floor, then carry on with what you're doing, because if the elbow is hovering, if you extend that arm out straight, you're going to pull on your rotator cuff muscles, which you don't want to do. So you can just keep the elbow touching or aiming towards the floor. So just going to do this a couple more times. So just working with your own breath, your own rhythm.
And then when you complete the next one, you can just let your left hand rest back onto your right hand, so right where we were at the beginning. And then lift your left arm up so it's parallel to the ground, so it's probably about a foot off the ground. Circle it towards your head, still keeping it in that same plane, and then circle it back behind you. And at that point, you probably are going to have to roll onto the back of your head again. Circle the arm all the way behind you, and then circle it over your hip, and then all the way back to the start position. And just continue. So I call this the helicopter arms, because you're aiming to keep your arm completely horizontal all the way around like a helicopter rotor blade. So it maintains this horizontal plane. You may not be able to because you might have an injury, or you may have some stiffness, which means, or in my case, there's a water bottle in the way, which means you have to go maybe up or down a little bit. But the essence is to keep it moving horizontally. Now, the next time you hover your arm over the right hand, we're going to reverse the movement. So once you've completed that next circle, you're then going to go down towards the legs first, circle the arm behind your back, up towards your shoulder, over the head, and then all the way back to the start position. And we're going to do that 2 more times. And then once you have finished, gently roll onto your back. Now, if you're coming onto your back, you probably are going to want to move your block or your cushion from under your head momentarily, but just keep it handy because we'll come back to it when we do the other side. Just going to have a couple of different stretches while we work on, before we work on the other side. So we're going to do a little bit of back bend here. So bridge pose, very gentle. We're going to start with some pelvic tilting, which is quite nice. You're going to have your feet hip width apart. Have the feet close in towards your body, but not all the way in, otherwise you'll never get enough lift to come up off the ground. So ideally your shins need to be vertical, which is difficult because you can't see them because your thighs are in the way, but you kind of want to have this essence of them being vertical. And just let the hands rest by the side of your body. Now the next time you breathe out, push your feet into the ground and let your tailbone lightly lift off the floor so that your lower back presses into the floor. So this is pelvic tucking. And then release as you breathe in. And just continue. Breathe out. Push into your feet. Let the lower back press into the ground. You might feel the abs kicking in a little bit if you can still feel your abs. And then inhaling, release. And we're just going to carry on. In addition to this, can you add a pelvic floor squeeze? As you do that exhale, as you push the lower back into the floor, just engaging the pelvic floor muscles, a little squeeze, and then you can relax that as you breathe in, and you just let the back rebound into its natural curve. Okay, now we're going to make this come a little higher. So the next time you breathe out, push into the feet, lower back connects to the floor. This time on the inhale, push into the feet a little bit more and see if the hips will lift up off the ground. They don't have to come up very far, just see how that feels. And then exhale and slowly curl all the way down. And then just rest on the inhale, and then again on the exhale, pelvic tuck, pelvic floor muscles engage. Inhale, push the feet into the ground. And then if it's comfortable, you might want to stay for the out breath, rise a little higher. And then inhale, curl the spine all the way back down to the ground. And you're trying to get each vertebrae to move independently but they might not. They might go down in chunks or clunks. And that's quite common as well. So we're just going to do this 2 more times. So just giving yourself the possibility of just loosening the back a little bit more. And starting with that pelvic tuck where you can engage the abdominal muscles. Quite nice opportunity to stretch the front of your body. And then when you come down after this last one, you can just relax. And then we're going to come onto the left side and we're going to do the left with the right arm now. I'm going to line on the left side. So placing your pillow or your block under your head. And again, just making sure that some of that support goes towards the back of your head, because you will be rolling backwards. Make sure that your back is straight and then the knees come up as if you're sitting on a chair. And then you rest the right hand on top of the left hand and the arms are coming out at shoulder height. Now as you breathe in, you just slide the right arm up the left arm, slide it over that left collarbone, across to the right collarbone, and just let the elbow dip towards the floor. It may or may not touch. And then as you breathe out, slide the hand all the way back. And just continue in the same way. Inhaling, sliding the hand up the arm, over the collarbones, letting the head roll back as a natural response to the twisting in the thoracic spine. So this move is called a thoracic twist, and it's difficult to get any articulation out of the thoracic spine. This is one of the few poses that offers us that opportunity to open into the thoracic spine. It's not an easy part of the spine to twist because we've got ribs attached to it, so it doesn't articulate as easily as the neck or the lumbar part of the spine. Now, as you continue with these moves, if your elbow comfortably touches the ground, you might want to open that arm out and stay there. And the next time you breathe out, you can ease yourself all the way back. But if the elbow doesn't touch the ground, then you may want to just continue with the process of getting the elbow to gently touch or move towards the ground. So the next time you complete your thoracic twist, you can leave the hand resting on top of the left hand. And then we're going to move into the helicopter variation. So now you lift the right arm up until it's parallel to the ground like a helicopter rotor blade. Circle the arm up towards your head. Circle it behind the head and let the neck and the shoulder roll back. Circle it down towards your hip. And then circle it all the way back up. And just continue in the same way, circling round and aiming to get this horizontal rotor blade effect, but also within that noticing, knowing, understanding that we might have to go a little bit up and down where it's tight. Now the next time your arm hovers over the left arm, we're going to do 3 repetitions in the opposite direction, so we're going to go the other way, so it kind of stretches in a slightly different way. So now you go down towards the hip first, Circle it behind you, and the arm rises up towards your head. And then over the head and back towards the left arm. I'm going to do that 3 times. And once you've finished, you can roll onto your back again. You might again want to remove your pillow. I'm just going to do a little lumbar twisting. So this is twisting the lower part of the back now. So with the thoracic twist, we isolate the hips and the pelvis, so the lower back doesn't move, which means that when we twist, the twist has to go into the upper back. Whereas now we're going to do the complete opposite. We're going to isolate the thoracic spine. So just take your arms out to the side and just let them rest onto the floor. You're going to bring the legs together, so the inner thighs are touching, feet together. Take a breath in, and then as you breathe out, gently drop the knees over towards your right side. Now the knees may not touch the ground, that's absolutely fine. We're just starting that process of loosening the spine. And then on the in breath, grip your thighs together and let the knees rise up to the center. And then on the exhale, take the knees over to the left. And on the inhale, grip the thighs together, push the feet into the ground, and let the knees come all the way back up. And we're just going to do that a few times, just flowing these movements with your breath. And then as you do more repetitions, you might find that the back starts to loosen. There's a bit more space. And then the next time the knees come over to the left side, we're going to use that as an opportunity to come up away from the floor, but you're going to come up quite slowly. So you're going to roll all the way back over onto your left side, and then push into your right hand and take your time to come up, particularly if your blood pressure is quite low at the moment. So just take your time and very gently come all the way up. And I just notice how that feels in the neck. We've done quite a lot of work on the neck and the upper back. So notice how it feels. Is it better? Good, good, good. Okay, so bread and butter pose, the lower back stretch. So coming onto your hands and your knees, and making space for your baby. So taking the knees as wide apart as you feel they need to be, so that you can snugly fit your baby in between your legs. Now as you breathe out, tuck your tailbone to the, down towards the floor and let your spine curl up towards the ceiling. And then slowly take your hips all the way back onto your heels, but without undoing that tucking of the pelvis. And then when you get all the way back, maybe a little sway from side to side so you can feel the stretch in the lower back. So we're going to do the same thing again, but we're going to be using the bee breath. So this is another one of our birthing breaths. It's really calming, really soothing, and all you do is you just hum like a bee. That's all there is to it. Your baby will really enjoy this sound, as I talked about earlier. Babies love to hear your sound. It's a way that they connect in with you. It's very soothing for them. So as you breathe in, push your shins into the ground and come up. And same thing again, tuck your tailbone under, roll the spine, go back onto your heels.
push into the shins, rise all the way back up. Do the same thing again. And just go at your own pace. So when you run out of breath, you inhale, push into the shins, rise all the way up. I'm just going to do that 2 more times. So breathing out, round back. Just cultivating that lovely bee quality, that humming quality. And then rising up, and then 1 more time. And then coming all the way up. So there is some suggestion that actually using that humming sound can be very soothing for your baby during labour, and it can, there is some suggestion that it may help with fetal heart distress. So it's one to have in your toolkit for labour, just as a way of keeping that communication between you and your baby, and also soothing your baby. So particularly if you use that sound a lot in pregnancy, if you do it as a calming mechanism for yourself, and who knows, we all need a little bit of calming at the moment, don't we? But it's also very calming for your baby as well. And then come labour, it's a familiar sound. So in an unfamiliar experience, which labour is for babies, and this is why they monitor for fetal heart distress, because it's, you know, it's a challenging process for the baby as well. But hearing that soothing, nurturing sound may have an effect on them. So, you know, nothing to lose really to do it. Okay, let's come up to standing. So tuck your toes under and have the feet a little bit apart, and then you can lift up, drop the heels to the floor, and then have a little dangle here. So it's quite nice to dangle down. If you've got high blood pressure at the moment, then you won't want to dangle for too long, so slowly make your way up. If you've got low blood pressure, you're going to want to dangle here for all day because it's quite nice to get some blood into your head. If you have got low blood pressure though, you'll need to come up slowly. So bend the knees, push the feet into the ground, and slowly uncover. And come all the way up. Okay, so coming onto your mat, and just shift your weight into the balls of your feet and back into your heels. It's nice little rocking movement. Weight in the heels, weight in the balls of the feet. And then weight left side, right side. So just shifting your weight from side to side. And then take the feet wide, and then just roll out the right leg. So just turn the right leg out and then bend the knee. Press the little toe down on the right foot so it stops the knee from rolling in and collapsing. And then you might also need to just turn, like if you have a look at my left foot, I'm going to turn it in, because for me it means I can look after this knee better. So you don't have to have that foot in a specific place. It just needs to be in the place that allows the knee to be comfortable, because this is the dodgy bit of the knee. Do you want more window open?
No.
And then push down through the feet. So even though you're keeping the knee bent, that pushing into the floor, you might feel your pelvic floor engaging just a little bit. Okay, bring the hands into the heart space. And then we're going to take the arms out. We're going to do a little bit of lassoing over the head again. So you're going to breathe out, take the right arm over and behind, and then back out. And then same again. And one more time. And then you're going to drop your elbow onto your thigh. So right elbow onto the right thigh. Just leave the left arm wherever it wants to go to. Press down into your left foot. Lengthen through the left side of your body. Feel the left waist lengthening and feel the rib cage drawing away from your hips. And then you'll find this extension, this length through the left side of the body. The feet are still active, they're still pushing down into the ground. And then we're going to come into triangle pose, but really gently. So all I'm going to ask you to do is to start to slowly straighten the right leg. Go as slowly as you like, and then at some point you're going to lose the shelf that your elbow's on. And at that point you can just rest your hand onto your shins. But you don't have to straighten that leg all the way. You just straighten it as much as you comfortably can. So it's a nice gentle way of coming into Trikonasana, triangle pose. And then bend the knee again. And then with that left arm, circle it down towards the floor. And then push into the feet and use that arm to come all the way back. Rise up, relax the arm. Lovely. Turn the feet parallel to each other. And then just slide your hands down your legs. So we've done this pose already in a seated position, wide-legged stretch. And now you've got the opportunity to get a bit more of a hamstring stretch out of it. So you might want to just do some little swaying from side to side here. If the fingertips don't reach the ground, you've got an option. You can bend the knees, or you can place your hands on your shins. So it depends which of these movements you're more comfortable with. And then bend the knees, slowly uncurl and climb up. Now turn the left leg out. Bring the right foot around. Bend the left knee now. Have the knee sitting over the ankle. Press the little toe down so that you can keep that knee in the right position, and then adjust your back foot, your right foot, wherever it needs to be, so the left knee is comfortable. Push down into the feet, so even though you've got the knee bent, you've still got kind of yielding down into the ground. And palms into the heart space, and then open them out. And this time the right arm's going to lasso over the head. Around. Is it the same arm?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did the lasso the front arm last time. I thought it was a different arm. We did okay. I normally back arm lasso this one. Okay, front arm. I was thinking, I'm sure we've done this. Yeah, so front arm lasso then. Right, yeah. And to be fair, my right arm could do with it happening on both sides. Okay, and then drop the elbow down onto the thigh. Let the arm just float wherever it wants to be. Press into the right foot, particularly the outer edge of the right foot. And then start to lengthen through the right side of your body. Lengthen the waist. Draw the rib cage away from the pelvis, and just feel that length through the side of your body. Keep pushing down through the feet. And then if you want to, you can start to straighten the front leg. Doesn't matter how far you straighten it. And then when the shelf disappears, you can just rest your hand onto the shin. And then bend the front knee, circle the arm down to the ground, push into the foot, rise back up, and then lower the arm, turn the feet parallel to each other, slide the hands down again. And it's quite nice to do this little draping movements as well, so just slide the hands along the ground in front, bending the knees as much as you need to. And then when you're ready, bend the knees, slowly come up, and then bring your heels together, toes together, so just gradually coming back into mountain pose. A little bit of work for the pelvic girdle as well, which is sort of moving the knees in and then circling them around. So you bring the knees in towards each other, and you have to kind of come down into a squat, and then you circle them around. So knees come in, circle them around. And then go the other way, circle them round and bring them in. And loads of lovely cracking in the ankles. And then come back to the centre. And then just one final movement, figure of 8 for the hips. So circle, one hip in one direction, the other hip in the other direction. So just one little birthing move in case any of you go into labour before next week, which shouldn't happen. So just that figure of 8 movement. So it's quite a nice movement for the hips, nice stretch for the pelvis, but very, very productive to do these movements in labour. And we're going to come back to B breath. The other way. And then just come back to stillness and just notice the quality of that B breath. Has a very similar quality to all of those neck moves, again very quietening for the mind. Okay, so that's it as far as the physical practice. Going to give you a nice long relaxation this evening. So just come down onto the ground and make yourself ready.